Scott Hazelton here to take you through the week on HRTV. Last year's juvenile champion, Midshipman, made his return Friday at Belmont in his first start in Godolphin Blue.
And Richard Migliori says go with Midshipman. He's wandered to the outside, battling him all the way. It's just Ben. This will be no walkover for Midshipman here, but he is clear as they come down to the final 16th. It will be Midshipman, a successful and long-awaited 3-year-old debut for this returning champion.
Well, we know that a decision has not been made for Midshipman as far as Breeders' Cup is concerned, and we will not go there, Rick. But I want to take you back to Friday and his allowance win. Now, he ends up winning this race, but he's drifting out late in the stretch. What did you make from that?
We can't just overlook the fact that he did it because horses do that for a reason, as you guys know. But I don't really know. We really can't explain that. Richard's pretty good picking up soreness and stuff like that on horse, and he said the horse felt great, pulling up, turning around, coming home. As I said, he's been good as gold off the race. So it's something we have never seen from him before, and be interesting to see when we breeze him back off this race if he does it at all. For some reason at Belmont Park, and I've been here for 5 years, horses do drift more on this big track than anywhere else. I don't know why they do it. You'll see more horses drifting out down the lane here than anywhere else. So, but it's certainly something. I'm not going to tell you we're not concerned about it, because when a horse does something you've never seen him do before, usually there's a reason. But as I said, he's come out of the race fine, and we're certainly happy with the way he ran.
Well, we know what last year's juvenile champion is up to now, but what about the distaff champion from 2007?
Hysterical Lady, Ginger Punch, but here comes Octave down the center of the track now with a big run. Hysterical Lady, Ginger Punch, Octave continues to close ground on the outside. Ginger Punch at the rail in a thriller. Hysterical Lady, Octave on the outside. Three of them going to hit the wire together. Hysterical Lady, Ginger Punch to win it. Ginger Punch won it to Hysterical Lady.
Well, Ginger Punch is very much like she was when she was on the racetrack. She's an alpha mare. She's got a very strong personality, but she's not a domineering horse. She doesn't necessarily do anything she's not supposed to, but when you go into a field and when she's in the field, everybody knows that she's still a #1 mare. She's settled in well, and she's done fine in her new position as a brood mare, and we've been very excited to have her here at the farm. She was retired last year, so this is her first year in foal. She was bred on a mid-April cover to Bernardini, one cover. She got in foal, and we're very excited to see what happens next year.
She was a Grade 1 winning machine for Bobby Frankel. Of her 12 lifetime wins, 7 of them were the Grade 1 variety, not to mention she earned more than $3 million, did Ginger Punch.
Can't wait to see what that Bernardini foal is going to look like.
That's
going to be a runner.
Pedigree Bernardini to Ginger Punch.
Over 5,000 yearlings were cataloged in this year's Keeneland September sale, and although numbers were down, tension in the bidding wars was high.
We saw overall now, including this sale worldwide of the 2009 sales, that Stormcat still leads as the overall sire for yearlings, and he was represented as the second top sire in this particular sale. Were there a lot of buzz, particularly around the Stormcat yearlings?
There was, and again, that Fleet Indian, which of course massively topped the sale. She was by far the sale leader at $2.05 million. The next highest price was $1 million. There was a lot of buzz, particularly about that one. This is essentially his last crop. There are only 3 foals in his actual last crop, which will be yearlings next year, and so it's not clear how many of those will even come to market. This was really the last best chance to get a Stormcat, and there certainly was some buzz.
Can you talk about the bidding that was going on in the sales topper between him and John Ferguson?
Sure, that was very interesting because we haven't seen that classic Darley Coolmore bidding war in quite a long time. It was kind of a throwback to see the two of them going at it hammer and tongs, and it was very tense. They went, I think everybody felt that it was a foregone conclusion that Sheikh Mohammed was going to end up being the winner. He simply seems to have more money than anybody else right now. But certainly John Magner, who was doing his own bidding himself, and was inside the pavilion, kind of huddled up in a corner with his team, including Paul Shanahan, and they actually went and brought in Todd Pletcher late in the bidding. they really gave him a good run. The price was well above, I think, what people felt was possible at this sale anymore. So it was tense. It was kind of fraught with the historic problems that these two bidders have had with each other. And when finally Magner walked away, I think everybody was not surprised that it was Mike Toon that was left holding the ticket there.
When HRTV Rewind returns, more winners in Godolphin blue.
They put the 49 up there, and he was just had his ears pricked. You know, we thought he'd be tough to run down from there.
Rigo Ransom canters onto the wire. He's the 30th winner of the Super Derby by just over a length.
Done some good work here. Let's do a little bullet drill real quickly before the end of the show. Now the Super Derby, 1 1/8, 1 1/4. They can't decide. It seems to switch around. Which one's better?
Well, it's 1 1/8, but 1 1/4 I like. It's a classic American distance.
How many classic winners, Breeders' Cup, have been also Super Derby winners? Name me 2.
Well, tis now, I know, for and Sunday Silence back in
Ali
89.
Sheba is a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old classic. How's that as well?
Travis Stone was on the phone Friday to explain how his announcing has improved since calling his first Super Derby back in '06.
Into the final furlong of the Super Derby. Lawyer Run. Johnny McKee's all over him. Strong contender. Robbie Alvarado coming after him. 100 yards to go. Lawyer Run. Strong contender. Forges past. And Strong Contender has won the Super Derby over Lawyer Run.
Travis, you've called races at Churchill Downs, Monmouth, Golden Gate, Calder, long list, and now at Louisiana Downs. Do you feel like you've really found your stride there?
I have. It's kind of funny when you play that Strong Contender video because it makes me cringe a little bit because I feel like I've evolved a little bit from that race call. You know, just like with anything, the more you do it, the more you feel comfortable with it, and the more you find kind of what your niche is. And you know, my first couple of years, I kind of got my feet wet and got onto the ground running. In the last 2 years, I really felt like I've come to the next level. So it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy my job. It's so much fun, and it's been an honor to call at those places. And hopefully we can have a good call on Saturday.
Travis, you said your race calls have evolved. What specifically do you mean?
Well, growing up, I grew up in New York, and so I listened to Tom Durkin almost every day when I watched races. And so my style mimicked him quite a bit as I started to learn how to race call. And I came here, and I still had what you might call Durkinisms in my calls. But since then, I've worked really hard at kind of creating this Travis Stone style and doing some more of my own things and just really trying to separate myself and brand myself a little bit differently, and I really think it's gone well, and I've had a good time doing it. So I'm very fortunate that I can call these races and enjoy it and have a good time with it. So it's a challenge. Every day is different when you call races, but you always try and improve. And I'm such a harsh critic of myself, and I always put a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to race calling. So I'm never quite fully satisfied until I can hopefully improve on all those little tidbits.
On our way to Louisiana, we stopped by Vegas and picked up a hint to who would win the Super Derby.
Mike Perenio, he is the ZZ Top well-dressed, sharp-dressed man, joins us here to preview the Super Derby. How are you, Mike?
I'm okay. I shaved my beard. It's not as long as ZZ Top.
Well, Mike, we're looking at the Super Derby. It's the 30th running. It's a field of 7. And where did you land in this one? There's a couple of price horses maybe to look at.
You know, you guys said a full field. Isn't that kind of amazing? 7's a full field nowadays. But,
right.
Yeah, you know what? It's a tough race. There's some horses here with lots of class, and there's some kind of mystery horses in here. I'm landing on Regal Ransom. Godolphin has won this before. I don't know if you guys remember in 2002 with Essence of Dubai. Blame looks like a good horse, but no one's ever won this race 2 years in a row, and Stahl won it last year. So I think Regal Ransom will be a good price. He's definitely got back class. He's won a lot of money. These horses coming back from the Emirates usually take a while to get healthy again once they go over there and come back. This one's been working real well. And if it's on its game, it's going to be all anybody can handle, I think, in that race.
16th out, Rigo Ransom. Richard Migliori's looking back for the competition, and it's 4 lengths behind. Rigo Ransom canters onto the wire. He's the 30th winner of the Super Derby by just over a length.
What was your impression yesterday after this race?
Actually, his rider, Bob Chapman, has done a real good job with him in the morning. We've had some draw reins on him the last few months, and he's really has switched off throughout the summer, and we were confident he'd settle. Richard had breezed him at Belmont Park, his last breeze, and seemed to get along real well with him. And yesterday was kind of a best-case scenario. We certainly didn't think we'd get away with that easy a lead in the race. And when they put the 49 up there, Carolyn, and he just had his ears pricked, we thought he'd be tough to run down from there.
Coming up on HRTV Rewind, some of the strangest things we saw on track this week.
Nobody takes up. There's no contact. What did you do wrong?
Nothing.
He saw it. He stopped for a sec and jumped.
Who do you think was faster from the 16th pole home, on a high note or his owner-trainer, Robert Leaf Jr.?
But on a high note, and Josué Ramirez closing on the far outside. Here's on a high note to make it close. On a high note, it's 45-1. Phone flare-ups trying to hold on a high note. Wow, it's a photo.
I believe that's Robert Leaf Jr., winning owner and trainer of On a High Note. I don't know what he was doing, but clearly not expecting that performance from this 45-1 shot. It's up and it's good.
I think he was trying to get a head start to get back to the backstretch, not expecting to having to be required to go to the winner's circle. Probably just wasn't really that confident.
That is great. We've seen the video of Dwayne Lucas running down to the winner's circle after Is It True? Upsets.
He did make it,
easy goer in the Breeders' Cup. But even so, in a $5,000 claiming event, look at he just got there just in time. Hand on the hip, smile and get your picture taken. And look at this. Are they going to hit that fence?
Hit the brake.
He gets an escort. He's like, I flipping one?
Here he is
allowed to
again.
leave your truck there?
You watching from the backstretch, apparently.
Clearly. Wow.
I would have just
Mr.
rammed the fence myself.
Congrats. That is for pure love of the game.
This week's handicapping lesson including tips on 2-year-olds from Aaron and Jeff on Against the Odds.
2-year-olds, whether they're first-time starters, second-time starters, whatever it may be, graded stakes, maiden special weight race, playing 2-year-olds is a tricky thing to do.
It is, because you don't have a whole lot of form to go on. So if you're playing 2-year-olds and you're playing maidens, what I would look for, of course, obviously, is the trainers and the jockeys. The top ones usually get the best horses and the best mounts. And if you can get a horse from a top stable is ridden by a top jockey, chances are that 2-year-old is going to be live. Also, you want a healthy work pattern. Not necessarily fast. You don't need them to be going 46 and 58.
Go a little slower. I'm writing this down.
A little slower, but as long as it's steady and healthy and they've got a gate work in there or two, that's good. Of course, you'd like to see speed breeding if you're talking about a sprint and a first-time starter. And also look at the sales price. Sometimes you see these horses, they bring a lot of money in the 2-year-old in training sales. That means they must have previewed very impressively, which means they probably can run.
But you want to watch the tote board. The tote board oftentimes will offer you clues as to which horses can run. If they have a nondescript work pattern and they get a lot of play at the windows, watch out for that, because the tote board actually can be used as a handicapping tool. You also, in something like this, want to talk about angles and connections. Jeff talked about jockey-trainer combo. That is so important in races where horses are entered with not a lot of experience to go on. And last but not least, especially with second-time starters, expect the unexpected. When you see a 40, 50, 60-1 shot, it means that the handicapper can't see it on paper. Second-time starters, oftentimes, Jeff, will have complete form reversals from their debut, and that's when you can play a horse just blindly based on the fact that maybe the debut run wasn't what this horse is all about.
Especially if you've watched tapes and you see something in there, maybe a little bit of a run, maybe a little bit of trouble, that you think that horse is better than that race shows, and if you don't do the work, maybe you wouldn't know that. So, yes.
2-year-olds were center stage this Saturday at Belmont for the 120th running of the Grade 2 Futurity Stakes.
The Funny Bone comes to the final furlong, leading now by 3. Discreetly Mine is full out second. They're leaving the rest behind, and it is the Funny Bone. The Funny Bone striding away in the final 16th of a mile to win here impressively.
We've heard of the saying, Gary, the action's not over till it's over.
The race was over, but watch this. Is the Funny Bone, if I saw this right, yeah, that looked a little bit, remember Dejour in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, cost himself a Breeders' Cup victory by shying from that same shadow. But It was later in the afternoon, later in the fall when he ran, so that shadow actually moves back, and it was before the finish line instead of after when it happened to Desjardins, and he cost himself that Breeders' Cup. But Edgar Prado, give him a pat on the shoulder, congratulating him after the race, and he about unseated himself and Edgar.
He saw it. He stopped for a sec and jumped.
Well, remember I said in the Saratoga special, Edgar said that that's why he kept riding the horse, because he kept throwing his ears up and he was afraid he was going to do something, so he just kept him to the task that was at hand. And I get a feeling Edgar Prado's not going to relax near as much on this horse next time that he rides.
International reporter Fanny Salmon was at Longchamp this week for the ARC trials.
It's a dress rehearsal for the biggest day of racing in Europe. Sunday in Longchamp, some horses won their ticket for the Qatar Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, and who knows, maybe on to Santa Anita for the Breeders' Cup.
Spanish Moon, quel avantage, Vision l'État terminant de plus en plus fort.
He could come here, or he could go to Belmont for the Turf Classic, or he could go for the Canadian International. So we've got three choices. We need to go his next race and then see where to go from there, you know. We've got the three choices, and the Breeders' Cup Turf is also a possibility.
Cavalryman qui enclenche maintenant, ainsi que Berchtam à l'extérieur.
And the horse was a little bit asleep today. And then the last 200, he just changed gear and off he went. He won his race. André said that today's not the Arc, it's a prep race, and I'm sure he's got plenty left to work.
Stacy Lita, who won the French Oaks in June in the colors of Martin Schwartz, was making her comeback in the Prix Vermeil, a Group 1 for fillies and mares on the mile-and-a-half. She was facing Daramy, the recent Yorkshire Oaks winner.
Daramy a trouvé le passage, Bécadoré termine très fort.
At the post, Daramy came in first, but she was disqualified after a very long inquiry for interfering with another filly in the race. An unpopular decision here on the track.
She will be much better, I think, because today she was a little bit fresh, you know, and it was the first time that she runs a mile-and-a-half.
Do you think she can still win the Arc?
She has a good chance. She has a good chance. The Arc is a very special race, so everything can happen.
What does she do wrong?
Nothing. Not a thing.
She's
Other
in the
than
pink.
maybe they don't want an Englishman coming taking their money. I don't know what the problem is. I mean, she didn't bother anybody.
She's in the pink with Jimmy Fortune. She's going to dart towards the inside. Nobody steadies. Nobody takes up. There's no contact. What did you do wrong?
Nothing. Nothing. But I'll tell you what, though, it's a tough way to lose a race, but it's a good way to know how good your mare is, and this is obviously a terrific racing filly, and she certainly would be tough no matter where she shows up next, whether it's in France, whether it's here in the States. John Goslin's got himself an absolutely top-class racehorse. I don't care what the stewards say.
When HRTV Rewind returns, more from Fanny in France.
What is she like when she's ready to go?
You have a sensation, you know, like a normal gallop, and when she's ready, she's like a car. She's like a little bit go down and whew.
And look at the acceleration from Goldakova as she bursts forward, and what a brilliant filly is this!
2008 Breeders' Cup Mile champion Goldakova seems set and ready to defend her title this year at Santa Anita, and along for the ride, once again, jockey Olivier Pellier.
How did you get started with horses?
I start when I ride before the pony race, when I'm 10 years old.
Your first win came really quick?
My second ride on the same day. First time I'm finished second, and next race win the race by 3 lengths.
Olivier, what does the Breeders' Cup mean to you?
The Breeders' Cup mean like the best horse in the world. Everybody watch the race. You're representing your country.
And look at the acceleration from Goldakova as she bursts forward, and what a brilliant filly is this!
What is she like when she's ready to go?
You have a sensation, you know, like a normal gallop, and when she's ready, she's like a car. She's like a little bit go down and whew, she keep going. This is the best feeling you have. She's very difficult before the race, before she go to the stall, but on the race, it's no problem.
Et Goldikova qui place une impressionnante accélération qui aussitôt se détache, elle s'envole vers un 6e groupe. Goldikova sublime.
This race is incredible because like a furlong and a half before the winning post, everybody claps in their hands and you know shouts, and this is fantastic. you're in front and you watch a little bit and you see the people, and when I see the screen, there's nobody there, and they're just pushing, just keep going. This is a good feeling.
What do you like best about your job?
Win the race. This is the best you can have.
And that's easy when you ride Goldakova, and he said that this is the best horse he's ever ridden, and consider, Millie, he's ridden Ouija Board and Banks Hill in the past.
I know, you consider that also that he's won Group 1 races, not only in England, but Ireland and France and Japan and Hong Kong and America, the list goes on. So that's quite a statement to say she's the best filly. I know one thing he's still really hoping to do is be French champion jockey, but I'm sure winning the race twice in a row on Goldakova would be pretty high up there.
4 years ago, Gary Boulanger suffered a career-ending injury as a jockey. Now he's back in the winner's circle, but this time as a trainer.
How satisfying is it to saddle your first winner as a trainer after undergoing such a terrible spill 4.5 years ago?
Well, it was obviously something I was happy I accomplished, and got a second career off the ground, and looking forward to new horses and new owners, and how far we can really go.
How much of a difference is the lifestyle from being a jockey to now a trainer?
Well, I mean, obviously, a lot more time hands-on with the horses and at the barn, and, you know, working with your help and getting to know each individual horse is a process. And so it's not so much just about how they run, it's, you know, their eating habits, their training patterns, and keeping them sound and tendons tight and whatnot is obviously something you pay attention to every day. So that's a big difference. A lot of hours, but horses are obviously something I enjoy and being around, and thought I had a great deal of knowledge in. So I'm glad to be back involved in racing. As a rider, I always set my standards high, and I think it makes you focus more and push yourself harder to become as successful or as you can. And I mean, I want to train a Kentucky Derby horse. I want to train a Breeders' Cup horse. I mean, I want the opportunity to show people what I can really do with animals as a trainer.
When it comes to steeplechase racing, no one does it better than Jonathan Shepard, as shown on Inside Information.
Jonathan's unique methods have yielded some of the sport's finest thoroughbred flat racers and jumpers of the past few decades. But one of the best was 4-time Eclipse Award champion jumper and the only winner of the short-lived American Steeplechase Triple Crown, Flatterer.
Flatterer was the best steeplechase horse I've ever trained, possibly that anybody's ever trained. We started him out on the flat. He won 4 or 5 races, and then as a 4-year-old we decided to convert him to jumps. He set records for the highest weight ever carried by a winner of a stakes race in the history of American steeplechasing. He won the Colonial Cup, which at that time was our premier race before the Breeders' Cup came along, 4 years in a row.
Flatterer is on the outside. They come to the final fence now. At the final fence, it is Salute being challenged on the outside by Flatterer. Flatterer now gets to the lead in deep stretch. Salute is second, and third is Local Kid, and then it's Jamsky. 50 yards to go. Flatterer on the outside will win his 3rd straight Colonial Cup.
The others were all, you know, very good horses, but this horse was on a kind of a different level.
That's it for this week on HRTV Rewind, as we turn the page to next week's action.
For those HRTV bachelors, will it be contestant number 1, 2, or 3?